Hey guys, Jonathan here. Today I'm going to be bringing you another Commander deck tech. The Commander is, he's from Ravnica. It's Niv Mizzet per run. So he's a 6-drop Commander. It takes 3 blue, 3 red to play him. He's a 5/5 flying that can't be countered. Whenever you draw a card, it deals 1 damage to any target. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery, you draw a card. And so the basic idea of the deck is we draw a ton of cards, then we play a bunch of instants and sorceries to draw even more, and then we kill them with Niv Mizzet. So, Niv Mizzet is our win con. Like, we don't win without Niv Mizzet. So, if Niv Mizzet gets destroyed, it's your #1 priority to play Niv Mizzet. You're going to want to always ping people that have countered your spells and stuff, and blow up all the creatures on the field if you can. If you can just get one player with nothing in their hand and only like one creature on the field that can't even affect you, it's an easy way to make sure that the game is yours. So some of the cards that you're going to want to run that sort of are win cons or at least let you survive until you can win. Curiosity combined with Niv Mizzet is literally a 2-card combo. Curiosity says whenever it deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. Niv Mizzet says whenever you draw a card, you deal damage to any target. So you just cast an instant or sorcery, you draw a card, and then you kill everyone until you deck out. So in case you would deck out, we run Lab Maniac. If you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead. So, simply put, you can Curiosity plus Niv Mizzet plus Lab Maniac and just win the game, or kill them with Curiosity, whichever is fastest. Also, if you can't hit the Laboratory Maniac, we run Platinum Angel. So it's a 7-drop, 4/4 flying. You can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. So basically, if you're going to draw yourself out, make sure that you got one of these 2 things on the field. If you're only playing 2 opponents and you actually get the combo down on turn 7, or even earlier, because we do run a little bit of ramp, you can very easily dispatch of 2 opponents, because 99-card deck, only on turn 7, so you've only drawn 14 cards. That was about 86-ish, so you can kill them fairly easily. Actually, it was 85, but so you get the idea there. Another card to help you to stop you from dying, because as soon as you play Niv Mizzet and people see that you're about to combo off, they're gonna try and kill you. There's Stormtide Leviathan, Island Walk. All lands are islands in addition to their other types, and creatures without flying or Island Walk can't attack. It's an 8/8, so late in the game when everybody's already used up all their kill spells, it's really hard to kill, and it's almost impossible to burn unless you are playing Niv Mizzet. That's why Niv Mizzet is so good. You can kill off almost anything. Combined with Niv Mizzet, we run Arjon the Shifting Sphinx. So whenever you cast a spell, you put the cards in your hand on the bottom, and then you draw that many. So we use that with Niv. Like, you can see where it's good combined with Niv Mizzet. And then if you can get down Thought Reflection, you actually draw twice as many. So you can end up decking yourself out with the Lab Maniac on the field in 1 turn. So it's nice. As some removal, we run Hypothesizal. Draw 2, then you may discard a non-land. When you do, it deals 4 damage to any target. Pretty self-explanatory. We run Aetherize, return all attacking creatures to their owner's hand. I've not had to use it yet, and you might. It's in there as a safety precaution. That's the only reason it's in there. If you got to discard something and you don't want it there, then discard it. Pull from Tomorrow. It's a 2-drop X instant, draw X, then discard a card. Self-explanatory. Read the runes. Draw X for each card drawn this way. Discard a card unless you sack a permanent. So with Thought Reflection, you actually do have to discard twice the amount that X would be, because of the specific rules text on Read the Runes. So just a thought there, you're not getting any extra value off of Thought Reflection, so don't try to do it because you might be flagged for cheating. We run 1 Omnispell Adept, obviously, 1 of everything. It's a 5-drop 3/4, pay 3, tap it. You may cast instant or sorcery from your hand without paying its mana cost. Self-explanatory, it's in there for obvious reasons. Arcblade, 5-drop, deal 2 damage to target creature or player, remove it from the game with 3 time counters on it. It has suspend 3 for 3, so it's a reoccurring shock that will get really annoying for your opponents. The only way to get rid of it is to counter it. Then we have Stroke of Genius. It's an X and 3, target player draws X, self-explanatory. By the way, you can do those at the end of your opponent's turn, so you might want to save them and leave up counterspell mana. Then you got Reality Strobe. So you you return a permanent to its owner's hand, then you remove it from the game with 3 time counters on it. It's got suspend 3 for 3. So just like the shock card, it's a boomerang every 3 turns. And it gets exiled, so it's really hard to mess with it. You got to counter it. Firemind's Research. 2-drop, whenever you cast an sorcery, you put a charge counter on it. Pay 2, remove 2 charge counters from it. Draw a card. Pay 2, remove 5 from it, and deal 5 damage to any target. Then we run Counterflux. So it's a 3-drop. It can't be countered by spells or abilities. Counter target spell you don't control with an overload for 4. So for 1 more mana, you can counter every single spell that you don't control. It's really fun when somebody starts storming instants and you're like, no, you can't do that. And then you just counter everything and now they're mad. Then we run Expansion to Explosion. So Expansion is a 2-drop copy target instant or sorcery spell with convert mana cost 4 or less. You may choose new targets for the copy. Explosion, a 4-drop in X. It deals X damage to any target. Target player draws X. Self-explanatory. It has dual purpose. Charmbreaker Devils. It's a 6-drop at the beginning of your upkeep. Return an instant or sorcery at random from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it gets +4/+0 until the end of turn. Whelming Wave. Return all creatures to their owner's hands except for Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, and Serpents. So I don't know what it is with Magic, but they've messed up Octopuses twice. It should just be Octopi. But they've done it on 2 different cards and 2 different sets. So, somebody at the translation center, it's Octopi, not Octopuses. We run a Chemist's Insight, which I'm seriously thinking about taking out for a Surge card. So, like, I forgot it. But anyway, it's a 4-drop instant, draw 2 with Jumpstart. The only reason why it's in there instead of the Surge card is because it has Jumpstart. Then there's Brainstorm, draw 3, put 2 from your hand on top of your library in any order. Self-explanatory. Thousand Year Storm. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you copy it for each other instant sorcery you've cast before. At this turn, you may choose new targets for the copies. Be careful with this card. You have to copy it that many times. It's not a May ability, so you might actually end up killing yourself with it. But it is really fun to take 17 extra turns, which has happened. It's really mean. Then we run Monastery Siege at the beginning of, when it enters the battlefield, you choose Cons or Dragons. Cons, you draw a card, and at the beginning of your draw step, you draw an additional card, and then you discard one. Dragons, both your opponents cast that target you or permanent you control cost 2 more. Generally, we will be setting this to Dragons because we don't want to discard, but Cons, I mean, we're going to end up discarding anyway. There's no max hand size stuff in here, because that actually messes with the flow of the deck. We need things to go to the graveyard to return them to the deck to draw more. Commander's Awakening, Ascend at the beginning of your upkeep. Each player draws a card. If you have the Sea's Blessing instead, only you draw a card. Mana Geyser, you add red to your mana pool for each tapped land in your opponent's control. If you can copy this a ton of times, get a ton of red mana. It's really good, like insanely good. Part the Water Veil, 6-drop, take an extra turn after this one. Exile Part the Water Veil. If you can get Nexus of Fate instead of Part the Water Veil, which is like quite a bit more, but if you can get a Nexus of Fate, put it in, because Nexus of Fate shuffles itself into the owner's library. Or if you can get an older take an extra turn card that actually goes to the graveyard, you can go infinite with Charmbreaker Devils and take infinite turns. So, I just couldn't find one. Like, they're hard to find, or really expensive. Then there's Firemind's Foresight. 7-drop, search your library for an instant sorcery card with converted mana cost 3, reveal it, put it in your hand, then you do the same for 2 and 1, then you shuffle your library. Self-explanatory. Niv Mizzet Draco Genius. You might actually take this one out for the other Niv Mizzet. Niv Mizzet Firemind is better because it does the same thing as Perun, almost exactly. And so it combos with Curiosity in case your commander's been killed like 4 times and you can't cast it again. This one does not. So it's a 6-drop flying. Whenever it deals damage to a player, you draw a card, pay 2, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player combined with our commander. You can pay 2, you draw 2 or something. You pay 2, deal 2, draw 1, something like that. So it's pretty good. Thought Reflection, 7-drop, if you draw a card, draw 2 instead, self-explanatory. Elixir of Immortality. So we're drawing our deck out a ton, and we need to be able to put our graveyard back into our deck. And like I said, we need stuff to go to the graveyard, otherwise we're going to deck ourselves out. So Elixir of Immortality is a 1-drop, you pay 2, tap it, gain 5 life, shuffle it, and it's, and your graveyard into their owner's library. Really helpful. You got Gitaxian Probe. It can be paid with blue or 2 life. Look at target player's hand, draw a card. Fateful Showdown. It's a 4-drop instant, deals damage to target creature player equal to the number of cards in your hand, then you discard all the cards in your hand and draw that many. So with Niv Mizzet, you're literally dealing twice the damage equal to your hand size, and because you've cast Fateful Showdown, you draw another card, so Fateful Showdown counts towards your hand size, more or less. It's really useful. Then we run Invert to Invent. Invert, switch the power and toughness of each of to 2 target creatures. It has been errated to say until the end of turn. Invent, you search your library for an instant and or sorcery, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle. So you're going to go with take extra turn stuff and then draw X stuff. Opt, obviously, everybody knows what Opt does. Izzet Charm, pay 2, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 2, deal 2 damage to target creature, draw 2, then discard 2. Ukin's Insight, scry X, where X is the highest rare mana cost above permanents you control, then draw 3. Highest will probably ever be 8. Mism Mortars, it's a 2-drop, deal 4 damage to target creature you don't control with overload for 6. If you overload it, it's really easy to win the game. I'm just saying, you want to overload it, especially late in the game. Mind Unbound, at the beginning of your upkeep, you put a counter on it, then you draw a card for each counter on it. Be careful with it, you could deck out. Soul Ring, obviously. Izzet Locket, taps for red or blue, pay 4, tap it, sack it, draw 2. Primordial Mist, 5-drop at the beginning of your end step, and you manifest the top card of your library so it becomes a 2/2 face down, and then you can look at all those. Exile face down permanent you control face up, and you can play it until the end of the turn. How an of Sing wins, you draw a card at the beginning of your upkeep. Stagger Shock, deal 2 damage to target creature or player with rebound. Izzet Sing it? Chasm Skulker, whenever you draw a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. When it dies, you create X1/1 blue squids with Island Lock, where X was the number of +1/+1 counters on it. If you can get Toothy, the imaginary friend, replace Chasm Skulker with Toothy, because Toothy draws you cards instead of making 1/1s, which deals damage, which is obviously a little bit better. Especially with Lab Maniac, you can just win. Ponder, you look at the top 3, put them back in any order, shuffle, draw 1, yay. Goblin Electromancer, instant sorceries cost 1 less. Chase the Sanctum, instants and sorceries cost 1 less. Whenever you cast one, you scry. Commander Sphere, Guardian Snipe, whenever you cast an instant sorcery, deals 2 damage to each opponent. Carnstable Sundering, you have to have a legendary creature or planeswalker on the field in order to play this, but target player takes an extra turn after this one. Obviously, you're choosing yourself, and then you bounce something, and then you exile Carnstable Sundering. Really useful. Storm Intelligence, whenever you cast a sorcery, you copy it, and you choose new targets for the copy. War's Toll, whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, you tap all lands they control. If a creature an opponent controls or all creatures that opponent controls attack if able. So we're playing this to stop them from countering our stuff. They can tap their lands in response to us tapping them all, and basically all it does is it gives them 1 phase to do stuff. Yay. Young Pyromancer, whenever you cast instant or sorcery, you make a 1/1. Prophetic Bolt, deal 4 damage to a creature or player. Look at the top 4, put one of them to your hand, the rest on the bottom in any order. Pour over the pages, draw 3, untap 2 lands, discard 1. Really useful. Cunning Strike, you deal 2 to target creature, 2 to target player, draw a card. Surreal Memoir, it's a sorcery, return target instant card at random from your graveyard to your hand with rebound. Really useful. So I'm Curious Homunculus, it taps to add colorless, you can only spend it to cast an instant sorcery. If there are 3 or more instant sorceries in your graveyard at the beginning of your upkeep, you transform it. And on the other side it says that instants and sorceries you play cost 1 less, and it's a 3/4. Ionize, a 3-drop counter target spell, it deals 2 damage to that spell's controller, and now we're into the lands. So Detection Tower, basically stuff loses hexproof. Command Tower, Mism, or next area of Firemind, I don't use it for its ability, it's just in there as a land, but you can pay 4, tap it, remove the top card of your library from the game. Until your next turn you may play it if it's instant or sorcery. Path of Ancestry, Myriad Landscape, basically Myriad Landscape is ramp, you pay 2, tap it, sack it, search for 2 basic lands that share a land type, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Izzet Gilgate, Swiftwater Cliffs, Izzet Boilerworks, you gotta bounce a land with that one. Opal Palace, Highland Lake, and then we run 15 islands and 15 mountains. So it's a pretty easy deck to build. You run 40 lands, 59 other cards, and then of course your commander. Commander has to be on the field in order to win, pretty much. You can win other ways. But yeah, there's a couple different ways to change it to make it slightly better. But I'm not going to go over them. Hopefully you guys like this really short commander deck tech. And but the deck's not too cheap. It's actually a bit high up there, because the Chasm Skulker is $12 and the Laboratory Maniac is $10, and then occasional other cards in the deck are slightly more expensive, and that Ionize is $9. You can get one that's like $3, but the Ionize I run is $9. So it's really easy to upgrade. If you guys want to change anything about it, it's really easy to. I had Apex of Power in there until Apex of Power literally killed me, so I took it out. But you know, change it, make it however you want, experiment with it. A lot of weird and different things can happen with it, and be really careful, because it's like I've sort of dumb this one down. Like, I'm not for you guys, but for me, because I don't want to have to think about all the different possibilities that could happen. But before, I was killing myself with basically every other spell I cast. So, then I just basically dulled the edges, and now it's like a one-sided sword instead of a two-sided sword. So, be careful. It could backfire really easily, and your friends will hate you after you play this deck. Guaranteed. But it's pretty strong, so I suggest it to everybody. Go try it out. It's really fun. And but thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, and I hope that you have a good day.